Hi, today is April 30th, 2023, and here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 711 for the year, Kayaks. A few weeks ago, the day was beautiful and the air was calm, and I had brought my mom back out to that pier that she likes so much, Pier 34, near Canal Street. Out on the Hudson, there was a group of kayaks, each with a person or two in it. The day was mild, the water was calm, but the clouds were a little crazy. As I look at the picture I took a couple of weeks ago, I find myself with a lot to say. Do I have enough to say for 6 more poems? Do I want all 7 of today's poems to be inspired by this picture? Is this really how I want to end the month? I guess I will find out. Poem number 712, Unknown Number. There is a pier just north of Pier 34. I'm having trouble establishing what number that pier is. It's between Pier 34 and Pier 40, but it is not Pier 36 because Pier 36 is on South Street. Maybe it's Pier 34 Part 2. There seems to be a combination of order and willy-nilliness to the pier numbering system along the Hudson. All I wanted to say was that someone spray-painted, "I want to tell you," big letters across the buildings on that pier, whatever the fuck number it is. Poem number 713, The Mystery of the Kayaks. When the weather is good, you can rent a kayak at Pier 40, which is just north of the pier that is just north of Pier 34. But the kayaks that my mom and I saw a couple of weeks ago were not from there because the Pier 40 kayak rental place was closed. And plus, these kayaks were south of us, not north. So I wondered, where the fuck did all these kayaks come from? I thought maybe there was another kayak rental place at the pier just south of Pier 34, which I'm not going to waste time trying to look up the number for because I'm already frustrated and impatient today. And yes, I've already meditated. Now weeks later, I accept that the mystery of the kayaks may never be solved. But as I was thinking about this mystery, I noticed something else about the kayaks. Poem number 714. The something else I noticed about the kayaks. When you rent a kayak at Pier 40, you can only kayak in a relatively small, cordoned off section of the Hudson. It's still fun, but you probably wouldn't want to do it for more than an hour. I took my daughter out there once or twice, or maybe more, when she was maybe 6 or 7, and we never wanted to do it for more than an hour. But what I noticed was these kayaks were not limited to a cordoned off section of the Hudson. They appeared to be at first. They were all in a little clump close to the bank of the river and whatever the fuck that pier south of us is called. But these kayaks could go wherever the fuck they wanted, and they did. I want to tell you what happened next with the kayaks, but first, a word about a word. Poem number 715, a word about a word. I want to have a word about a word. The word I want to have a word about is kayakers. As I was writing the first poem today, poem number 711, I started writing about the kayakers, but I found the word kayakers so strange that I found myself avoiding it. It's almost an hour later now, and I'm over it. And as far as I'm concerned, when referring to the people in the kayaks, you or I can call them kayakers, because apparently that is what they are called. I mean, of course, that is what they're called. I don't know why I initially found the word so strange. I didn't have a problem with kayak or kayaking, and those are strange words too. I guess I must accept that the mystery of why I had trouble with the word kayakers earlier this morning may never be solved. Okay, now I can tell you what happened next with the kayaks. Poem number 716, what happened next with the kayaks? What happened next with the kayaks is that they all started moving north as a group. So this wasn't a bunch of random kayakers who had each taken out their own kayaks to do their own thing. This was a group, and the group was kayaking north, past Pier 40, probably past whatever the next pier north is. Maybe they went to Upper Manhattan. Maybe they went to Cold Spring. There's a kayak rental place up in Cold Spring, too. The mystery of where the kayakers went is yet another mystery that I must accept will probably never be solved. And at this point, I don't even care. And the last poem of the day, and the last poem of the month, is poem number 717, Sup. This morning, when I zoomed in on the picture of the kayakers that I took a few weeks ago, I noticed that one of the people in the group was in a stand-up paddle boat. I am so unsure of myself today that I had to look up stand-up paddle boat to make sure that that is what they are called. The website I found was called Paddle North, which I thought was odd because I had just been saying that these kayakers and this one guy in the stand-up paddle boat were all paddling north. The Paddle North website has detailed instructions on how to paddle a stand-up paddle boat, which the Paddle North website refers to as a SUP. But the website doesn't tell you how to not look like an ostentatious piece of shit when you are among a bunch of kayakers and paddling a SUP. The guy really looked to me like he was like, look at me and how I stand out among you poor bastards who only know how to kayak. You should all worship me and my world-class SUP skills, you poor bastards. And as I heard him saying this in my head, I said to him in my head, go fuck yourself, you ostentatious piece of shit with your eyes forward and your slight bend in the elbow and your back straight and your slight bend in the knees and your feet shoulder length apart and your paddle blade angled forward just like the Paddle North website tells you to do, you goddamn sheep, you fucking piece of shit, you motherfuck with your goddamn fucking... I will stop myself there and just point out that I try to be perfectly nice when I meet strangers, but when I see a person on the Hudson paddling in a SUP among a bunch of kayakers, I am not always very nice. And I wasn't very nice that time a few weeks ago. But at that time a few weeks ago, only my mom heard my tirade, and she found it amusing. All right, that's it. Thank you again. I appreciate you. And yes, I know, obviously, I couldn't have made the reference to the Paddle North website, 2 weeks ago. It's called Artistic License. But I also like that it's surreal because, I couldn't have known. But it's in the poem anyway. So, yeah, I'm aware. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.